We have breaking news here. I don't know that I've heard of a coach being traded in the All-Star game.
Caitlin Clark is a menace, man. She literally kicked Cheryl Reeve off the team.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team.
We've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. He's going to take her coach. Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rule. Sorry, ESPN, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
Right now.
Kayla just gave her a straight up, man, forget you and get off my team.
Caitlin Clark just pulled the ultimate power move. She straight up kicked Cheryl Reeve off her All-Star team mid-draft. No drama, no hesitation, just a clear message. No haters allowed. Fans are calling it the most savage moment in WNBA history.
The WNBA All-Star Draft was fun between Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier, the team captains picking the players, picking the rosters, but the most interesting aspect was the coach swap.
When the WNBA All-Star Draft started, everyone thought it would be just another fun, feel-good moment.
Caitlin Clark just made the funniest All-Star selections ever. She picked her friends. She made sure she picked no ops, as people like to call them.
Players would build their rosters, crack a few jokes, and coaches would smile politely for the cameras. But Caitlin Clark had other plans.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team, or was to be the coach of her team, to Collier for Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty. Of course, Reeve is Collier's head coach for the Minnesota Lynx.
As one of the two captains, she was automatically matched with Cheryl Reeve, who was set to coach her All-Star team.
Cheryl Reeves, I get it. You have the best record in the WNBA so far. You want as many plays as you can on the All-Star team.
That's just the system. The coaches with the top records get assigned to lead the All-Star teams.
The drama is going to come from Reeve having previously been critical on social media about the amount of attention Clark received relative to the rest of the league.
But anyone who's followed Caitlin's journey knows Cheryl Reeve wasn't just another coach in her story.
The same way you didn't give two about Caitlin Clark's fan base and all that, don't nobody give two about your crime. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you're coaching Caitlin Clark's team, I don't understand why you had to make it a big deal and say, oh, well, this team's below us to have more plays and us and it's disappointing. And like, what are you talking about?
For months, Reeve had taken shots at Clark, dismissing her impact, downplaying her success, and even deleting tweets after getting called out for the shade.
You already kept her off the Olympics. Now you're going to complain about her having more teammates than your players on the court? Yeah, get the fuck off this team. Embarrassing. I know she was embarrassed. I don't care what nobody say. I know she was embarrassed.
Reeve's name was even linked to Clark's Olympic snub, though she denied having any official say. So when trade talks came up during the draft, Caitlin didn't blink.
To be completely honest, I love my team. I think they're great. I don't have any intentions of really trading any of them.
She leaned into the mic, calm and confident, and dropped a line that stunned the room. She said she loved her roster, was happy with her team.
But I think we've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. He's going to take her coach.
Then she added, I don't know if this is in the rules, but I don't really care. We're going to trade coaches.
Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team, or was to be the coach of her team, to Collier for Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty. Of course, Reeve is Collier's head coach for the Minnesota Lynx.
In that moment, she publicly fired Cheryl Reeve from her All-Star team and brought in Sandy Brondello, head coach of the New York Liberty and one of the league's most respected voices. A beat of silence passed. Then the crowd and players erupted.
And I love the fact she traded Cheryl Reeve. That's my favorite part of it all. She traded her coach.
Some laughed, some gasped, and even Reeve looked completely blindsided.
We have breaking news here. I don't know that I've heard of a coach being traded in the All-Star game. This is something you're agreeing to, Fee. There's no terms to this deal.
The ESPN crew scrambled to react, calling it one of the wildest, most unexpected moves in All-Star history.
Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rule. Sorry, ESPN, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
But Caitlin didn't flinch. With a smirk, she doubled down. Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule.
Yo, did y'all see Caitlin's face, bro? She was like, nobody cares. That is hilarious, man. Man, I lost my mind when they said that. Oh my goodness. Now, the way they were talking about it seemed like something that was premeditated or, predetermined before they got on live here.
That line lit up social media, with fans calling it the ultimate power move. This wasn't just a coaching swap, it was a message. Caitlyn was drawing a line, making it clear she wouldn't take disrespect from anyone, not even a championship coach.
And Caitlyn is making sure she's stone-faced. She's like, why did you say me, Bounce? I'm gonna get blamed for this.
After months of being snubbed, criticized, and undermined, Caitlin Clark stood her ground, making it clear she won't share a bench with someone who never believed in her.
With the WNBA, it's a little different because so many people are new. So many fans are new, that is. So they're just becoming familiar with a lot of these teams and a lot of these players. And last year, there was the Caitlin Clark versus the Olympics storyline. This year, of course, you don't have that as naturally baked in, but now Clark's going up against Cheryl Reeve, and Clark is clicked up with her Indiana Fever teammates.
The trade wasn't just approved, it was celebrated. Players, commentators, and fans called it iconic, flooding social media with praise. Many said it was long overdue for someone to stand up to the league's double standards and politics.
As far as the coach swap went, that again was going to be the most talked about and will be probably the most talked about thing. Here is how that went down on the ESPN broadcast between the two captains.
Starter for starter, reserve for reserve. The good news is you can't go wrong with this type of talent. Anyone looking to make a deal here?
For Caitlyn, this wasn't just a draft day stunt. It was a bold, unapologetic message. She's here to lead on her terms and won't let anyone, not even an assigned coach, dim her light. Firing Cheryl Reeve in front of the entire league made that crystal clear.
I think Caitlyn's got a better team. Because of, again, with Boston and Wilson, they're not going to get beat up inside. I love Gabby's versatility, and then I just think they got more shooting across the board.
Caitlin Clark shifted focus to what really mattered, building the perfect all-star squad. And just like her bold coaching move, she drafted with laser focus, teammates she trusts, players who back her, and zero room for haters.
She actually passed up on Paige Beckers to take Sabali, and she took Asia Wilson with her third pick. If Asia had fallen any further down the board, that would have been a wee bit of a controversy, if we're being real about it. But Clark picked her, I think, just in time to avoid that. I'm sure some people are still talking about it a little bit.
The way she built her roster was a masterclass in confidence and awareness. Every pick made it clear this wasn't just about skill or stats. Though she grabbed plenty, it was just as much about loyalty and chemistry.
Fee, Stewart, Alicia Gray, Aneka Ogwumike, and Paige. They got 2 guards and 3 power forwards on that roster for Team Collier. Caitlin Clark actually has a complete roster to start her team. She's got Caitlin Clark at the 1, Sabrina Ionescu at the 2, Satu Sabali at the 3. She must have heard the chatter in the offseason of fans saying, let's get Satu Sabali. I'm just saying, she might have heard a thing or two.
Fans quickly picked up on her strategy, dubbing it Team Vibes or No Ops Allowed. She made it clear, no room for anyone who trashed her or fueled the non-stop criticism she's dealt with all year.
Clark, Boston, Ionescu, Wilson, Sabali, Mitchell, Gabby Williams. I love Gabby Williams. What a player. Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafen, Jackie Young, Thornton, Kayla Thornton from the Valkyries. So Clark should have a very fast team there.
Her first pick made a statement. Aaliyah Boston. Boston isn't just a powerhouse on the court. She's Caitlyn's Fever teammate and one of her strongest supporters.
Sabrina Ionescu at the 2, Satu Sabali at the 3. She must have heard the chatter in the offseason of fans saying, let's get Satu Sabali. I'm just saying, she might have heard a thing or two.
Next was Sabrina Ionescu, a veteran who embraced Caitlyn during her rookie year when many stayed silent. Then came Asia Wilson, the reigning WNBA superstar and an undeniable must-pick.
Other than Asia Wilson, because as Ken Swift's graphic says, Team Caitlyn, no ops allowed, except Asia. We ain't stupid. Asia's that good. Yeah, you're picking Asia Wilson.
Even Caitlyn joked you'd have to be crazy to leave Asia off your team. She rounded out her starting 5 with Satu Sabali, a vocal supporter and champion of the league's new wave of fans brought in by Caitlin's rise.
And she had it coming. Now all we need is Caitlin Clark's team to win. And if I don't know if y'all caught it or not, but she definitely said Sandy likes to shoot threes and run. I'm like, yo, Stephanie White, you might want to be careful out there.
When the dust settled, Caitlin's starting five looked unstoppable. Her running point, Boston owning the paint, Sabali adding range, and Wilson dominating both ends.
When you look at it, I mean, Williams is really fast for a forward. Obviously, Kelsey's very fast. Citron's very fast. Jackie Young's one of my favorite players. Iriafin, a rookie, can get up and down the floor. UNESCO can help spread the floor along with Kelsey and Clark.
It was clear. Caitlin wasn't building a team to compete, but to dominate. Her bench picks were just as intentional, starting with Kelsey Mitchell, a loyal Fever teammate who's backed her all year.
Gabby Williams, she picked nobody to tweet a negative thing about her. She's picked nobody that has said a negative thing about her in the media. She picked none of her rivals.
Gabby Williams, who's never had a bad word to say about her.
She made sure there were no ops on her team. If she's played with a player before, like Sonia Citron, she picked her.
Sonia Citron, a past championship teammate, joined dependable players like Jackie Young, Kiki Iriafin, and Kayla Thornton, all fitting Caitlin's vision of positivity, unity, and zero drama.
She actually passed up on Paige Beckers to take Sabali, and she took A'ja Wilson with her third pick. If A'ja had fallen any further down the board, that would have been a wee bit of a controversy, if we're being real about it. But Clark picked her, I think, just in time to avoid that. I'm sure some people are still talking about it a little bit.
Even more revealing was who she didn't pick. Players who've publicly criticized her, tried to downplay her rise, or pushed the idea she hasn't earned her spot. She left those names to rival captain Nafisa Collier and built the kind of environment where she didn't have to question loyalty or look over her shoulder.
The picking between the players was a lot of fun, and Caitlin Clark also wound up with all of the Fever members on her squad as well, meaning Aaliyah Boston, Clark, and Kelsey Mitchell will be a trio in Indianapolis for All-Star.
In one night, Caitlin Clark didn't just draft a team, she sent a message. She knows who's real and isn't afraid to make tough calls to protect her peace and lead with purpose. This wasn't just about winning games, it was about earning respect, showing resilience, and proving she's built for the spotlight.
But if you know me, you know I'm not afraid to say I can do better. I am sorry that my message was in the heat of the moment, because when I initially spoke on the topic, it really came from a place of care. I totally recognize that it may have impacted fans in a way that I did not intend, and I am sorry.
This is the moment that we've been waiting for in women's basketball. It's way bigger than that. This is the moment.
Women's basketball is blazing. Packed arenas, shattered ratings, and a wave of new fans. But off the court, a storm is brewing. It all blew up on ESPN when Chiny Ogwumike smirked at Kelsey Mitchell. Everyone thought Mitchell would chuckle, shrug it off, keep it light. She didn't. She locked in, stared ahead, and fired back with truth, not drama.
Maybe I'll start with you, Kels, because Lord Jesus, your team and their fans, Jesus, they be getting up in everybody's business.
And in that moment, everything flipped, because this wasn't just casual banter. It was a line in the sand. Media spin versus lived truth. Gatekeepers versus disruptors. This wasn't sass. It was a reckoning. To outsiders, the ESPN line might have seemed like playful chatter, but Fever fans caught the sting. It wasn't a joke. It was a jab. Another signal Indiana wasn't supposed to thrive. But Kelsey Mitchell didn't blink. She stood tall and said what others wouldn't. Caitlin Clark changed everything.
I think I've seen both sides of it. For one, like being on a team with like Caitlin and knowing that some of the stuff and the wave that she created for like the shifting moments in Indiana period as far as like the arena.
That single line shattered the media's polished script. For 7 tough seasons, Mitchell stayed true. Through defeats, through heartbreak, and through losing her father in 2023. Now that the spotlight's here at last, she's not stepping aside. Not for ESPN, not for anyone. Kelsey Mitchell had every reason to leave. While other stars chased rings in Vegas or LA, she chose Indiana. Season after season, loss after loss, No glam, no buzz, just heart. She played through silence in the stands. She played through pain, her father's death just before 2023, and never said a word.
Being on a team with like Kaylin, the big moment is seeing the shift and being a part of it from a standpoint that I know where Indiana was. And so to see the cultivation of it, you just grow to appreciate the process and, you know, the growth in which the game is going.
Now, with the fever finally climbing, the media paints her as a sidekick, like she hasn't been the backbone of this franchise for nearly 10 years. Nope, Mitchell's no backup. She's the blueprint.
Congratulations, Eastern Conference Player of the Week.
And the fact that she's shining now without ever jumping teams or chasing clout is exactly why fans are backing her hard. Because this isn't just hoops. It's loyalty, struggle, and finally, redemption.
Someone on and off the floor, like she's just been a voice that's been there. She's been through this league for 7 years now. Like she knows what to expect. She knows how things are going to go. And I think more than anything, like we are just starting to understand each other much better. Like we could just make eye contact and she knows to go back door. She knows to come get the ball. Like that just comes with playing with one another. So it's been a lot of fun for me. I mean, she's playing so well right now, just as good as anybody in this league. So I feel very lucky and fortunate to have her by my side.
When Kelsey Mitchell said, "The rise of women's basketball has a lot to do with Caitlin Clark," everything shifted. The energy changed. Chinese smirk vanished. Producers probably froze behind the scenes. Because that wasn't just praise, it was a statement. For months, ESPN and league insiders stuck to the same line. It's not just one player. But Mitchell ripped that script in half live on air. No shouting, no theatrics, just truth. And that truth hit harder than any viral moment. Mitchell wasn't backing Clark out of loyalty. She was backing reality. The sold-out crowds, the surging viewership, the wave of new fans. This wasn't hype, it was fact. And when Mitchell dropped it, the balance of power changed forever.
Kelsey Mitchell on the left, of course, Caitlin Clark on the right, the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year. And boy, what a summer it was, Quinn, with the fever here.
Caitlin Clark didn't chase the spotlight. She became it. Sold out arenas, record jersey sales, a $28 million Nike deal. She shook the league before even settling in. But instead of celebrating her rise, the media flinched. ESPN downplayed it. Former players threw shade. Why? Because Clark wasn't their pick. She didn't come through the old system. She just showed up and changed the game. Even worse for them, she brought an army, teen girls, dads, grandpas who'd never watched the WNBA. Clark didn't just rise. She revealed what the league had been missing. On paper, they're opposites. Mitchell's the veteran bucket getter. Clark's the floor general. But together, they're a problem. The league wants drama, beef, feuds. Mitchell and Clark, all wins, no noise, no ego, just elite hoops. When the media pushed division, Mitchell backed Clark. When Clark hit bumps, Mitchell picked her up. When Mitchell went off, Clark gave her shine. They don't fit the script, and that's what rattles the league. The WNBA prayed for this. Mainstream buzz, packed stadiums, global hype. Clark delivered. But instead of riding the wave, the gatekeepers got nervous. Analysts parroted, "It's not one player." ESPN tried to spread credit to preserve old narratives. Why? Because they didn't build this. And if Clark keeps rising, it proves they couldn't. Now the same voices who begged for a savior are minimizing the one they got. And fans, they're done pretending. Mitchell saw through it. She spoke truth. And that truth cut deeper than any ESPN segment ever could. The fever used to be invisible. Empty seats, lousy records, forgotten, except by Kelsey Mitchell. Now, they're the team nobody wants to face. Clark's court vision, Mitchell's scoring clinic, a hungry, gritty roster. This isn't a super team. It's a statement, and the league never saw it coming. While ESPN spins rivalries, the Fever are showing what real chemistry looks like. While commentators debate narratives, Indiana just stacks W's. This isn't hype, it's a takeover, with or without media blessing. So who's the MVP? Mitchell, the loyal warrior who never bailed? Clark, the phenom who lit the fuse? or the synergy between them that's flipping the whole script? Because let's be clear, the Fever aren't just making noise, they're seizing control. Every time Clark gets slighted, Mitchell fires back. Every time analysts sleep, Indiana goes louder. This isn't a hot run, this is a rebellion. The only question now isn't whether Mitchell and Clark can lead, it's whether the league is ready for the shockwave they've started. If you're rocking with the Fever, smash that like, drop your MVP pick in the comments, and hit subscribe, because this ride, it's only heating up.
In terms of the fourth quarter, they had all but one of their buckets was inside the paint. Was that them just being able to get into the paint, get whatever they want because of that point of attack defense like you were talking about?
Yeah, they had that and 9 free throws.
The Indiana Fever were on fire. They steamrolled Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. They outclassed the Minnesota Lynx to claim their first Commissioner's Cup title. They obliterated A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. 3 wins in a row. The hype was real. Everyone assumed they'd cruise past the Los Angeles Sparks, even without Caitlin Clark. The Sparks are arguably one of the weakest teams in the WNBA, but what followed was infuriating. The officiating was so atrocious that Stephanie White could only utter 5 words that exposed everything broken in this league.
We should have won this game. There was inconsistencies in the officiating. Wait until you see the second half, and I have everything.
The Fever entered this game without their brightest star, but no one saw what was coming. Caitlin Clark was out with a left groin injury. It was her 5th consecutive game on the sidelines. The team's whole offensive rhythm hinges on Clark's ability to create plays. Without her passing instincts and scoring danger, the Fever transformed into an entirely different squad.
Finding out this morning that we probably need to hold out again today. It really is a day-to-day thing. And I think for us, making sure that we're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness. It's anybody who's had some of these types of injuries understand that sometimes it's a process. She's a quick healer and she's been doing everything that she can to get back on the floor. So, we just want to make sure that we're hypersensitive to the big picture.
But that wasn't the end of it. Damiris Dantas was away representing her country in the FIBA America. Her absence forced the Fever to reshuffle their rotations. They lost a vital contributor who offered both size and veteran presence off the bench. Then came the bombshell. DeWanna Bonner had quit the team entirely. 3 critical pieces gone in one brutal stretch. Now here's where things got wild. Even with all those setbacks, the Fever were still overwhelming favorites. ESPN's matchup predictor gave them a 72.9% chance to win. MGM had them favored by 6.5 points. Everyone believed their remaining firepower would be more than enough. It made sense. The Sparks are undeniably one of the WNBA's worst teams. They've struggled from the start. The Fever were fresh off an epic 3-game win streak. Aaliyah Boston was on fire. Kelsey Mitchell was emerging as a true leader. The team's chemistry looked rock solid during those dominant wins.
Howard looking backdoor for Mitchell. Not there. Shot clock down to 7. McDonald feed inside, and it's Howard for 2.
It's good recognition.
But something was simmering under the surface. Without Clark, the Fever's pace had dropped off a cliff. The ball wasn't zipping around with the same intensity. Boston wasn't seeing enough touches to take over in the paint the way she's capable of. The offensive rhythm that thrived under Clark's direction began to unravel. Sure, the Fever still had multiple players with all-star potential. Meanwhile, the Sparks were barely staying afloat on most nights. How on earth could Indiana lose this game?
I don't get it. Breanna Stewart, A'ja Wilson. Wait until you see what they did for Kelsey Plum tonight. They get all the calls. Touch fouls, anything. And guess what happens? Aaliyah Boston, the best center in the game. And guess what happens to her? She gets called for every touch foul and ends up in foul trouble this entire season and is still putting up MVP type numbers. What happens with Caitlin Clark? Have you ever seen her get a touch foul? Phantom call? No. the physicality, that's the WNBA when it comes to Caitlin Clark. But anybody else, the physicality disappears. And it's foul after foul.
The expectations couldn't have been higher. Everyone assumed sheer talent would make up for the missing pieces. The Fever had already shown they could win when it mattered. They still had championship-caliber players on the floor. The Sparks were expected to be easy pickings for a team with Indiana's remaining arsenal. But this perfect storm of absences set the stage for a meltdown. The chemistry that had looked so tight during their win streak was anchored by Clark's leadership. Without her orchestrating the offense, the cracks began to appear. Role players who thrived in clear roles were suddenly asked to do too much. The pressure mounted fast as the game opened, with all these setbacks dragging them down.
What does it take to get a team to be more consistent, especially from you on the coaching side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. There's always got to be a high attention to knowing personnel. Oftentimes you don't get a lot of practice time, and so going over a lot of their sets, what you do. But at the end of the day, making sure we know our personnel, who we're going to run off the 3-point line, what we're willing to give up. We've got to make sure that there's a high attention to detail there.
Even with the team stumbling, 3 players flat out refused to let the Fever collapse without a battle. Aaliyah Boston was an absolute force in the paint from start to finish. She racked up 23 points and 12 rebounds in a performance worthy of a win. Boston hit 9 of her 17 shots and sank 5 of 7 from the line. When it mattered most, she finally got the ball and reminded everyone why she's such a dominant, one-of-a-kind talent.
Here's Mitchell off the screen, but can't connect on the 3. Boston offensive rebound, rolls it in and a foul. The 2 bigs bring the ball up the floor, and Hamby wasn't ready for that.
How about that change of pace? That burst like a guard gets downhill to the rim.
Kelsey Mitchell rose to the occasion in Clark's absence. She poured in 19 points and drilled 3 clutch three-pointers when the team was starving for offense. Mitchell also hit a major career milestone, appearing in her 251st game for the Fever, second only to Tamika Catchings in franchise history. Her leadership was on full display all night, keeping Indiana in the fight against a team they were expected to beat handily.
Lob inside. Boston too far underneath. Shot clock down to 5. Kick out Mitchell. Oh, yes!
But there was more. Natasha Howard brought her veteran savvy and completely torched the scoreboard. She racked up 21 points and 9 rebounds, nearly securing a double-double. Howard was lights out, hitting 8 of 11 from the floor, including 1 of 2 from deep. She sank 4 of 6 free throws and delivered critical buckets on both ends of the floor when the team needed them most.
Busted them all up. We went to the same high school.
Howard left alone, answers with a 3.
These 3 players shouldered the entire team, delivering championship-caliber numbers against a squad expected to crumble under pressure. Boston ruled the paint like the true all-star she is. Mitchell drained clutch shots that kept the Fever within reach. Howard's seasoned instincts sparked plays younger players simply can't pull off. Imagine this: Boston dominating inside, Mitchell sinking shots from all over, and Howard orchestrating veteran moves that kept hope alive. The comeback was within grasp. The crowd could feel it, momentum swinging unmistakably toward Indiana.
Just like that, Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA, the team owners, the Players Association, in the split of an instance, all of it can change. In a split instance, all of it can change. If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear
overnight.
The WNBA assumed they could push Caitlin Clark around every night, and fans would simply applaud like it was a middle school halftime show. Well, surprise twist. After Clark took a hard hit like it was Game 7 of the NHL Finals, fans aren't just upset, they're boycotting like it's Black Friday and the referees lost their coupons. The league encouraged physicality, but now it's facing a full-court protest. Who knew the road to equality meant throwing elbows at your MVP's ticket sales? Get ready as we dive straight into this unfolding saga.
It was just announced that Caitlin Clark will be out a minimum of 2 weeks with a quad injury. Could this injury have been prevented? Can the Indiana Fever win without her? And what does this mean for the WNBA?
Oh, the WNBA believed it was heading into a peaceful, drama-free season. How cute. Just when everything looked perfect, ratings climbing, jerseys selling fast, and every Fever game feeling like a Taylor Swift show. Boom. Caitlin Clark's team had different ideas. Now she's sidelined. Fans are reacting like the Earth slipped from its orbit, and the WNBA is quietly scrambling behind the scenes while pretending all is well. It's not.
Get in the back. We know Caitlin Clark was lost yesterday to an injury for at least 2 weeks. Now, the thing about it is they're going to reevaluate in 2 weeks. And of course, man, these teams, I told you earlier, these WNBA franchises that move games like the Chicago Sky to the, United Arena, you're screwed. You're done. You're cooked. Nobody is going to show up to this thing. Chicago Sky can't sell out their own 9,000-something seat arena like it is. They couldn't when they were kind of decent.
2 weeks. That's how long Clark is sidelined with a strained quadriceps. Not a tear, not a break, but enough to turn the league's story completely around. Her thigh basically clocked out early, and the Fever's star player is now resting on the bench, while the WNBA struggles to keep the spotlight. And the reactions? Oh, they've been anything but subtle. If subtle means a total public meltdown, then yes. Clark's fans, the most passionate merch-wearing Twitter cackalock supporters since the Michael Jordan era, are already organizing emotional walkouts. They've turned a minor injury into a full-blown revolution. I'm done watching until Clark's back. This league isn't worth it without her. Boycott the WNBA. These folks are acting like the league personally slapped their grandma and stole their dog. Meanwhile, every other player is out here saying, hey, we exist too. And the internet's reply? Not now, sweetie.
It's the latter. It could mean that Caitlin Clark could potentially miss the rest of the season. This 2-week timetable that people are running with, that's just when Caitlin Clark is going to be reevaluated. As of now, she will be reevaluated on June 9th. That does not mean, and it's highly unlikely, that June 9th or shortly thereafter is when Caitlin Clark is cleared to return.
And Indiana? Well, they're suddenly realizing what life feels like without their golden goose. The Caitlin Clark show is temporarily off the air. Now, Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell are trying to keep the whole franchise together with duct tape and pure hustle. Mitchell's playing like she's got 3 lungs. Boston's rebounding like she's battling ghosts. And Coach Stephanie White is rewriting game plans like she's in the Hunger Games. Yet somehow, the Fever might actually stay afloat. Why? Because the next few games are against teams that have been about as threatening as lukewarm soup. No offense, Chicago Sky. Okay, maybe a little offense. But let's be real. The most entertaining part of the WNBA isn't the scoreboard, the highlight reels, or even the actual basketball. It's watching the league pretend the party's still on when the life of that party, Caitlin Clark, just got benched. Before her injury, Clark wasn't just in the MVP talk, she was the talk. Sure, some acted like she was a long shot, like she was only good for a rookie, but that's like saying Beyoncé is just okay for a singer. please. Caitlyn wasn't just putting up stats. She was dragging an entire franchise back into the spotlight like a one-woman rescue mission. She had the ratings, the sellouts, the celebrity shoutouts, the screaming fans, and the nosebleeds decked out in homemade jerseys with glitter glue. She didn't just bring excitement, she single-handedly rebooted the WNBA's algorithm. We're talking record-breaking views, arenas that suddenly remembered what full feels like, and merch flying off shelves faster than Taylor Swift tickets. Now, the Queen is temporarily off the board, and everyone's pretending this MVP race is suddenly wide open, like the rest of the league wasn't just orbiting her gravitational pull 5 minutes ago. Cute.
Breaking WNBA news. Caitlin Clark is out for a minimum of 2 weeks with a quad strain, and our next question is, what does this mean for the Fever? So Cece is going to be missing the second Sky rematch since playing them the first weekend of the season, which is definitely a bummer, but on the bright side, this injury doesn't seem too bad, it's just some quad tightness. But fear not, Fever fans. We talked to Caitlin earlier this month, and she doesn't seem too worried about the depth of this roster.
Meanwhile, back in Indiana, the Fever are quietly figuring things out, and they might actually come out stronger. Because without Clark doing literally everything, the rest of the team is stepping up. And when she returns, rested, focused, and absolutely done with all the noise, buckle up. Picture Clark storming back onto the court, draining threes from the parking lot and silencing every doubter who wrote her off after 2 weeks of quad rehab. That's not just a comeback, it's an encore. And here's the real kicker. If the Fever can survive this stretch, stay competitive, maybe even snag a few sneaky wins, they're going to be a serious problem. Because with Clark healthy, Boston confident, and Mitchell fired up, you're looking at a potential playoff spoiler with the momentum of a freight train. So, yes, Caitlin Clark is temporarily injured, but the WNBA is still rolling. Maybe louder than ever, because now, every storyline is heating up at once. MVP drama, rising stars, fan feuds, conspiracy theories, and Clark's eventual comeback tour.
Just as I started talking about Caitlin Clark being in the MVP race, it is announced that she suffered a left quad injury and she is going to miss at least 2 weeks. And this is such a bummer because the Fever were off to a great start this season. Caitlin Clark was playing out of her mind. She had already broken some records in the first 3 games, and now she's going to be sidelined for 2 weeks. We'll see how the team will hold up without her. Obviously, she's the primary ball handler, playmaker, and shot maker. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they can sustain and just hold even at 500 or better, and she can get back and keep them in playoff contention.
So to all the fans boycotting the league until their basketball messiah returns, here's a reality check. Without Caitlin, watching the WNBA feels like tuning in after the main act has left the stage. Sure, the league is full of talent, but without her, the spark's missing, the energy's flat, and the drama's lukewarm at best. Go ahead, rage tweet from your Clark-themed beanbag, because the WNBA isn't evolving, it's surviving. And when she's back, it won't just be basketball, it'll be the show we've all been waiting for.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
For weeks, the WNBA's theme song was the same brutal rhythm. Caitlin Clark getting hacked, bumped, hip-checked, and slammed while league officials sat in silence, sucking in air and saying zilch. Fans erupted online. Studio panels offered polite shrugs and moved on. The signal couldn't be louder. Figure it out yourself, rookie. Then, out of nowhere, boom, the silence exploded. Not because the WNBA finally acted, but because the loudest voices in basketball history jumped in. Steph, LeBron, Luka, over 6 NBA All-Stars in total. This wasn't some sanitized, PR-polished support. It was pure, boiling frustration hurled across the hoops world. A thunderclap of honesty that echoed from coast to coast. Normally, NBA stars keep their compliments in-house. A retweet here, a post-game quote there, and it's back to business. But Pascal Siakam broke tradition, live on air. Asked the softest question imaginable, who's getting the most love in basketball. He skipped every NBA name and lit the fuse. Honestly, it's Caitlin Clark. The love around her is ridiculous. Sit with that for a second.
Oh man, Caitlin she's a beast, man. Like, and they love her. So I'll probably say Caitlin Clark. I love Tyrese, but she's another level in terms of just the love that she has.
He didn't stack her up against that other NBA rookies. He compared her to Tyrese Halliburton, his own all-star point guard teammate, and still gave her the crown. That's not a favor, that's facts. Clark has smashed through the invisible barrier that used to divide their league from the league, and Siakam just signed her visa. Obi Toppin isn't the type to drop headline soundbites. His game speaks in dunks, not deep takes, which is exactly why his response hits different. No filters, no rehearsed lines, just wide-eyed, genuine respect.
Yeah, Caitlin's amazing. Super amazing. She's a great player. Having her be courtside and watching our games is awesome. We see the excitement that she has on the sides, but just like she's doing that, we do the same. Like when they're playing, like it's so much. It's a joy to watch.
That's parity at its rawest. No pecking order, no women's basketball asterisk, just hoopers seeing hoopers. When mid-tier NBA players speak like that, it's clear the culture has already shifted beneath the court. Sharing a city in Indianapolis gives Halliburton a front-row seat to the whirlwind surrounding Clark. He watches the swarm of autograph hounds, the blinding flashes, the constant noise, and her stone-cold poise through it all. Look, he told reporters, there's Bron, Steph, Jokic, and Caitlin. She's top 5 most famous in the sport, period.
She's, I think for me, getting to actually spend time around her, be around her, get to know her personally, she's just an amazing person, an amazing player. She deals with a lot there's a lot of rhetoric behind her that she really has no control over, and I think that the way she handles that is just amazing. Like, I think when it comes to the game of basketball, like, she's probably top 5 most famous people that are playing right now, just in general. That includes our league as well.
He wasn't being dramatic. TikTok, ESPN, airport terminals, morning talk shows, pick a screen, she's there. Halliburton's empathy says it all. He's lived the weight of being an NBA franchise cornerstone, and still, he thinks she's carrying the heavier load. That kind of perspective hits deeper than any highlight reel. When LeBron speaks, entire media ecosystems shift course. He could have played it safe with a casual nod. Instead, he zoomed out to the big picture. She's drawing attention. They're flying private now. Let's celebrate that. Translation: Clark's not just playing. She's fast-tracking structural change that's been 27 years in the making.
Because everybody is looking for you to say anything, and they're gonna splice it and cut it and make it a negative thing. And I think for her, the one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in. I saw for the first time that they had a chartered plane for the first time in their league history. They flew private. That should be celebrated in its own right.
LeBron's seen this story before, because he was the story in 2003. He knows what it means to pull an entire industry into a brighter, richer future. His praise didn't just sound respectful, it sounded personal, even protective. The message between the lines was clear. Don't fumble this league. Guard your golden ticket. Ask a pure shooter how he salutes another, and the answer's simple. Lace him up. Trae Young, a guy who lives for logo threes, even admitted he'd need extra reps to keep up with Clark in a televised shootout. The stat they both own, only 2 college players ever to lead the nation in points and assists, connects them for life.
You were hype about Steph and Sabrina. I know that you have spoken about Caitlin Clark. You're a big Caitlin Clark fan.
Oh, yeah.
She, of course, is an excellent shooter. Would you ever do like a Caitlin Trae 3-point contest at All-Star?
Of course I would. I've gotten to talk to her too throughout her college years. We're the only 2 people that ever led college in points and assists. That's a crazy stat. I'd have to definitely practice a lot more than I have for these previous 3-point competitions. Nah, I'd be ready for sure. I'd do it.
Young's lighthearted challenge wasn't just cute banter. It was a peer-to-peer nod that Clark's form, rhythm, and confidence deserved the same neon spotlight as his. Fans would line up for that showdown, and the brands are already circling. Paul George is that rare star who can zoom out without sounding like a lecture. His takes slice through the noise. Look, vets spent years battling in half-filled arenas. Then, a rookie shows up and becomes the headline. It's natural some folks might feel some type of way. He wasn't excusing the hits.
You gotta put it in perspective, right? These girls have been grinding to grow the game of basketball in the WNBA. They've been grinding to grow the sport to the world, the viewerships. They've been grinding for all of this. And then you have this girl that comes along from college and is an instant change. She's handed pretty much being the face of the league. There's going to be girls that are offended by that.
He was breaking down the human pushback that comes with sudden shifts. In just 3 sentences, he celebrated Clark's rocket ascent while giving credit to the trailblazers who paved the road she's now blazing down. That nuance is why his words echoed across podcasts for a full news cycle. A reporter lobbed Luka Doncic a softball. Who's your favorite women's player?
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like Paige Buchers?
No, she's okay. I didn't see her playing in the women's NBA. So.
Luka didn't hesitate. Caitlin Clark. No qualifiers, no soft landings. For a guy whose own rise from Euro prodigy to NBA star bent time and expectations, that kind of direct answer spoke volumes. He measured her by the toughest standard, pro-level impact today, and she passed with ease. That's the kind of stripped-down praise you hang on a wall. Steph saw the hits she took. He broke down her film moment by moment. Then he tossed the diplomatic script straight out the window.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
Boom. Straight up. From the guy who redefined the shape of the court itself. That line was equal parts warning and manifesto.
I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine. And then her just confidence out of you can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair. Like, she's a performer. It's crazy though, just because her shot is it's like that. It's at that level. If you really watch, like her floor game is as impressive. So it's kind of the total package.
He followed with precision. Same release speed, same limitless range, same flair for the dramatic. Then he dropped the hammer. She's the total package. And Curry doesn't hand out compliments lightly. His nod turned Clay into a legend and Jordan Poole into a millionaire. Calling Clark a kindred spirit? That's legacy-level endorsement. The momentum briefly stalled when Jason Tatum brushed off the WNBA question with a 7-word shrug.
Favorite WNBA player? Asia Wilson.
Respect to Wilson's dominance, but Tatum's silence, his unwillingness to even say Clark's name, felt intentional. Same vibe when Kevin Durant got asked about his favorite female athlete and responded with, Reese is talented, no doubt, but with Clark's record-breaking season, Katie's pick landed like a subtweet made flesh. 2 megastars declining to elevate her echoed the exact tension Paul George hinted at. Not everyone's ready for the new hierarchy, and ironically, that reluctance only magnifies Clark's disruptive force more than any glowing soundbite could. Step back from the opinion avalanche, and the numbers speak volumes. Games moved to NBA arenas, still sold out, TV ratings up 400% from last year, merch flying so fast, Nike can't keep Iowa Gold in stock. Charter flights got greenlit mid-season because watching a generational talent wait at TSA was too surreal for 2025. Corporate sponsors? Floodgates wide open, and yes, competitors are feeling the G-force. This curve isn't just steep, it's vertical. Greatness doesn't breed consensus, it splits rooms. Think Jordan, Serena, Tiger, prime LeBron. The WNBA has long pleaded for national relevance. Clark didn't knock, she kicked in the door. Every standing ovation and every cheap shot proved the same truth. Indifference is dead. Sure, the league can fix officiating, marketing, revenue sharing, but you can't manufacture obsession. Clark sparked it instantly. Here's the catch. Turning one rookie into a cultural supernova risks making her both savior and scapegoat. The league has to scale without self-sabotage. Protect her body, spotlight the veterans who laid the groundwork. Tell more than one story. That means faster reviews, a real marketing budget, and charter flights for all, not just the Clark Express. The NBA learned this lesson the hard way during the LeBron fatigue era. The W can take notes now. Steph's compliments matter, but Clark's destiny isn't to become the women's Steph. It's to become the first Caitlin Clark, blending Curry's range, Magic's court vision, and Mahomes' cultural spark. That fusion can't be imitated. It must be forged under a harsher glare than her predecessors ever faced.